Diego Chico Corrales versus Ryan Garcia. Going out to Stephen McBroom. Let's get into it. This is an interesting matchup that I'm imagining takes place at lightweight. Both of these guys have significant height and significant reach for their weight class. For lightweight, of course, Diego Chico Corrales is the more proven of the two. He's been in there with the likes of Floyd Money Mayweather, Pretty Boy at the time, Jose Luis Castillo, Yoel Casamayor, and he has some other names on his resume. And so I love Diego Corrales because he stepped in the ring with anyone, win, lose, or draw. That guy was a warrior. He was a true legend. And the more proven of the two, the more proven of himself and Ryan Garcia. I guess the jury is still out on Ryan Garcia. He has yet to prove himself, and he has yet to reach that legendary status. I must admit that I'm a fan. He has an exciting style. He has the star power. And so I see the potential. He receives a lot of criticism. And of course, we're in a different era and in a different age than we were when Diego Chico Corrales was at the height of his career. Not as much social media. I mean, these things were settled in the ring. So I hope we get back to some of that in boxing. That's for another video. But as far as the talent, I think they're equally talented. Chico may have a better chin. I think he's mentally tougher, in my opinion. He's more tested. So I think this fight would come down to toughness. And I see Ryan Garcia having early success. He has some quick hands. He throws punches from all angles. So I see him getting in some work in this fight. He definitely has his moments early on in the fight. But Diego Corrales was one of those fighters that the more you hurt him, the tougher he got, the stronger he got. We saw that against Acelino Freitas. We saw that against Casamayor. So Diego Corrales could take as well as he could give. And we haven't seen a lot of that from Ryan Garcia. So that would be a major factor in this fight. And that goes back to the toughness. Diego Corrales being able to give as much as he receives, or he could dish it out and take it as well. We have yet to see that with Ryan Garcia. And back in Corrales' day, to be the best, you had to beat the best. There was no waiting around. There was no sitting around. There was no inactivity. I mean, you had to get in there with the best guys, and you had to fight all the time. Back then, you had to fight your way to the top. So that's the advantage that Corrales has. He fought in the tougher era. He fought in the grinding era. And so these fighters today, I would say they're equally as talented as fighters of yesterday, but I just don't see that hunger. I do like how Ryan Garcia is calling everyone out. I mean, these fighters don't even want to mention each other's names anymore. He's expressed interest in fighting Tank. So there was no double talk there. I mean, he straight out called Tank's name. So that gives me hope right there. And so I see the potential for toughness. I see the potential for Ryan Garcia to be that throwback type fighter, to be that fighter that fights anyone, to be that fighter who doesn't duck. This is duck season in boxing, unfortunately. And I just hope the sport gets back to what it was at least 20 years ago. I'm not saying go back to the 60s to where you're fighting 20 times a week. So I'm not saying to fight with the same frequency as they did in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. But I don't think 2 fights per year is too much to ask. At least give us 2 a year and get on the schedule. And so I look forward to seeing Ryan Garcia in the ring. But getting back to this particular fight, I'm leaning more towards Chico Corrales because of that toughness factor, because of that tested factor, being tested. And because Diego Corrales knew how to dig deep to get that win, or at least be competitive. He was in there with some tough guys, but he dug deep. I mean, he was hungry. He really wanted it. And so I'm going with Diego Corrales by late stoppage. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think, and I will see you on the next video. There's too many excuses as to why the best fights can't be made. They don't bring anything to the table. I need more money. I'm not a matchmaker. They're not on my level. I'm going to hide behind my promoter. It's politics, this and that. And what gets me is, why do these fighters have to publicly argue about money? I don't know about you, but I, as a fan, could care less. Listen, make the fights that the fans want to see, and you will do the numbers. The money will be there. Now, I'll be the first to admit that I don't know all the ins and outs of the politics of boxing, but I really don't care. So why do I need to know about the politics of boxing? I just know the fights that I want to see. And as a fan, that's all I have to be troubled with, or that's all I should be troubled with. I mean, I don't need a lecture about the politics of boxing, not knowing the politics. There's politics in everything, okay? I don't care about the politics. Just make the fights happen. I just wish the promoters would work together and just consider the fans. I mean, I'm starting to think that we don't matter anymore. And so there's no reason for this. And of course, everyone is chasing Canelo. Everyone is accusing Canelo of cherry picking and so on and so forth. But Canelo is in the position to call his shots. Now, let me talk about Andre, Benavidez, and Charlo for a second. Now, if this was the 90s or the early 2000s, those guys would have had to fight one another. Why can't they fight one another? Why are they all sitting around waiting on Canelo, being inactive, fighting only once a year? I mean, Charlo should have a fight schedule by now. And what gets me is there's some fans that are enabling this. There are fans that are making excuses for this kind of behavior, not realizing that you're depriving yourself by enabling these fighters to do this. Benavidez, Charlo, and Andre should be fighting each other. Then they gain more leverage. But no one wants to lose. But guess what? That's the chance you have to take in order for those doors to open up. No risk, no reward. I think I speak for most true fans when I say that undefeated record doesn't matter as much as you think. You're appealing to the casual fans now. And so I feel that the casual fans have taken over the sport. And the true fans need to take the sport back. But come on, people. Come on, people. One fight a year. One fight every 2 years. Because you're waiting on that Canelo lottery. Now, I'll be the first to say that I'm not in there taking the punches. But I never said I was a fighter. You said you were the best. So when you say you're the best, there's expectations that come along with that. This is settled in the ring. You guys need to settle this in the ring. Andre, Charlo, Benavidez, if you're listening, fight each other in an eliminator. Get that leverage. Build up your own name. Build your own legacy. Stop waiting around on Canelo. Okay? Please. Those are my thoughts. I just had to put this out here.